happens when you challenge me.
All right, guys. Shield Lancer Reflect. It's been pretty powerful. A lot of people are telling me probably wouldn't work. It works a lot better than you might think. And the harder, the more difficult the content gets, just kind of walk up and boom, you taunt, and it just you start killing things even better. Wormhole's been fine. I completed the wormhole we needed, but I think we can take it much further. Uh, Things like that, and a few things about the build. I'm focused entirely with two things. I have the Hone Defense build for the character. We've done the physical damage, and I have the Reflect here. So, out of all of them, yeah, our Arcane, like, Summoner is, like, one of the strongest. You're going to do just tons of damage all the time. It never really feels that bad. But Reflect is a build no one's really doing too much. And when I wanted to try it out, I tried to even go into like the Lancer forum and whatnot in their Discord, and people were so unhelpful. It was crazy. So I figured I'd throw a video up for it. Every time I asked about like how it was, they'd just be like, "Well, it's worthless, right? Doesn't really, not very good." And I was like, "Well, that doesn't help me. Like, I want to make the build, so it doesn't matter if you don't think it's good, you know." But anyway, it ended up being a lot better than I thought, so I might as well make a video about it. I think there's a few interactions with the Lancer people don't understand, and that's why they're not able to scale their reflect damage up very high. So let's go over that here. A few different things with your reflect build. I went in with Lucifer's Crown, getting rid of Eternal Death, just because of how the armor nodes work. It was kind of making me angry. If you decide to go full Vite stacking type build for reflect and using only Asarius Iron Thorn, you can do a Lucifer's Crown, and you're going to do a lot of damage with your other moves. So in other words, these moves will start doing a lot more damage, yes. Your Reflect, on the other hand, it was already doing the damage you needed, so you don't really need to add more damage on top of it. You really just need to add more stats. And that's the name of the game with this build, is how much armor and Vite can you get, and still have some good damage reduction, and still have decent gear on for the Reflect. And this is what I've come up with. So let's go over the gear first. We've got the Adamant Roamers. I'm just using Sand Manipulator's Authority because the intelligence conversion is decent. The Arcane down is okay for while we're basic clearing. And we do a lot of Arcane damage still because of how Shield Wall works and all the different moves flying around us. So this actually helps. You can use almost any pair of gloves you want. Mythic pair of gloves work very well if you decide that you want to... that you need some damage taken recouped as mana, because one of the more tankier parts of the build would be doing that. You could go for that, but anything mainly with armor, vitality, or if you just want to get a little bit of damage out of your other moves, you can use something like that. Now, when we go over to the weapon is up for whatever you're feeling like. If you're just going to be reflecting, the Draxus Pick Stick works okay. The Commanding Banner will drop down while you're attacking if you're with friends and whatnot. And the stats on here, especially the Vite and the armor, is the big reason why you'd want to use this. Other than that, a lot of the stats on here aren't all that great for the reflect that we're doing. And I'll go over the other weapons I'm using down here. So what is the build mainly built around? What matters? So after checking out quite a few different items, what matters is stat stacking. So things like, hello, it's me, Steve. Chaos Gemstones with lots of stats that you're looking for. Annihilator, kind of the stuff that works in every build. But the reason why your stat stack is so heavy in this is you're double dipping into armor and Vite, and armor helps the Lancer more than any other class in the game, I think. Uh, and you can tell by that by throwing on some boots. I've had some boots with like 26% conversion of movement speed to damage. And yeah, my other moves do more damage, but it doesn't really help the reflect at all. And the 12% increased armor you get from Adamant Roamers is so big. It's so massive for having that much armor in there, that it's hard to replace these at all. I mean, even for just basic damage, if you just wanted to scale your hone defenses and things, the armor bonus you get from that is so crazy that it's actually worth just keeping the Adamant Roamers on, which is a really, really cheap pair of boots, and that's why I'm even kind of focused on telling you this, is the boots aren't all that great for any other build. So you can pretty much maximize, get like bested slot, do whatever you want. I'll probably end up before the end of the season crystalling a few pairs of them and messing with them. I just threw some angelic jewels in here. You can, and what you should do is just elemental jewels. These were cheaper at the time, and I was kind of running out of cash for a moment. But yeah, I've been spending a lot on stuff before I could get anything going. So I just decided to throw some angelic jewels in. I didn't have the dust. But yeah, using elemental jewels in every piece of gear is the best. And the reason why is because Asarius Iron Thorn and Eternal Death are double dipping off of that. Anyway, so the rest of the gear here. Adamant Roamers, armor stacking. Event Horizon, armor stacking. And as you see, the armor stack for both of these is kind of like putting on 2 Toss Necklace for the stat. You're getting 12% increased armor here. You're getting 18% increased armor and 140 out of 162, which is pretty crazy. The vitality comes from what we have gemmed in here, but eventually this will have better gems. Then we got Eternal Death. That has a lot of vitality and armor. It also increases the damage you do significantly with Reflect because of the Eternal Armor on there. That armor conversion's crazy. And then Asarius Iron Thorn converts your vitality into damage return. Makes you do more damage to stun monsters, and has some pretty good stats for a person who's going to be getting hit in the face a lot. Mainly the all damage taken reduced and the all res. So that's the items that kind of make the build. What I would recommend, and I don't think you're going to be able to get away from, is items like Steve's Necklace. You can do something different, but Steve's Necklace is extremely powerful for this. Eternal Death, Asarius Iron Thorn, Event Horizon, and Adamant Roamers. You add all these together, and then the rest of the gear that you put on can kind of be whatever you want. So just these are going to be your main in slot. Get these, max them, and the order you should max them in is Adamant Roamers last. So let's do the first. So you're going to do Eternal Death first. You're going to do Asarius Iron Thorn second. Event Horizon, you max out once you're ready for that armor percent node to go. Try to get a 12% when you pick one up, because the percent to armor is massive. And also have a level 3 Vector Shroud. I mean, the build's based on Vector Shroud. And then the Adamant Roamers don't matter as much, but you want to try to get like an 8%. That way when you do take them to 5-star, they go to 12%. But you're going to be 5-starring these last, because these are just for the armor increase. Whereas these actually enable the build. Let's show you just exactly what I mean by that. So before we go even too far into this, so we have 300,000 damage return here, correct? If you take off Asarius Iron Thorn, you drop down to 104,000. That is massive. That's a massive loss. So if we take off the Eternal Death, you drop down to just 24,000. So 24,000 is 30,000 when I first was stacking armor returns. Seemed like it was okay. But as you see, that's just not good at all. Which one gives the most? So if we throw the helmet on, because of the amount of armor we've been stacking, go up to 104k. We throw on Asarius Iron Thorn, go up to 76k. So if we were to just do full Vite stack, I believe that Asarius Iron Thorn might do a little bit more damage return. The problem with that, though, is how armor works with the character. Armor's so powerful on a Lancer, and you can spec into things such as the armor conversion to magic skill damage, the attack damage armor conversion. You get extra HP based off of how much defense you have. So it's just so strong, stacking armor, and you get so many bonuses because of the Event Horizon that I just went off of the Event Horizon for the build entirely. Everything I did was based off of what the shield stats were made by the dev, and then what I thought would kind of go good with it, and it seemed to work pretty well. So once again, you're going to upgrade your Eternal Death, Isarius Iron Thorn, then Event Horizon, and then Adamant Roamers, and you'll pretty much be ready for the build once you have these updated. As you see, when you take this to 5-star, the Thorn of Vitality does go to +8. Your Eternal Armor does go up here, and that armor conversion is insanely good. And on your shield, the only thing that goes up is your increased armor percent. The Vector Shroud does not go up. So if you're looking for more Vector Shroud, don't worry about taking this up right off the bat. For Adamant Roamers, the percent armor does go up. So that was a big deal. Why that's a big deal for us is because some things like Arcanist Wrath and whatnot, when you increase them, they're 5% for conversion to intel doesn't do anything. So anytime you can get an actual increase to your percentages, big deal. Such as like on Steve's neck, that goes from 5 to 7. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you're stacking attributes, pretty powerful. All right, so let's go over the rest of the gear here. Soul Forge Band works just fine. These stats are perfect for the build. You're getting life, mana, resist. The increased experience gain is huge for hero levels. The 30 to all attributes, when you have a 5-star ring, is huge for the build because you're stat stacking multiple attributes, not just one. And then the plus the skills and faster attack speed and cast rate, all of this helps us. This character uses cast and attack speed, so this is really good for him. Rugal Sash, not really needed. I kind of moved over to a Majori's belt, especially since we're getting hit so hard in the tower and whatnot all the time, that the 25% incoming damage over 4 seconds seemed like it'd be good. I haven't tested it too much, so we will gem that up and see what I think about that, see if that damage incoming is actually pretty good. But in the meantime, when you first start, all attributes on the Rugal Sash and the fact that Meat Shield's going to hit you into the 75% damage reduction if you don't have your armor yet, really good. And the other Lancer moves do really well with Arcane down, so might as well get some on your gear if you can. Best in slot ring for this build is going to be Azazel's Despair. Reason why is the Vite stacking you can get from this is higher than most other rings. The life replenish, the life, the damage return, and the all damage taken reduced. None of these are great stats. They're not amazing, but they are really good to just have at least one Azazel's Despair with Gurak Stone in it. The all damage taken reduced by 10% is pretty big. You will find yourself in weird scenarios, not just with this character, but with others, where you're not getting that all damage taken reduced where you need it. And this ring, just one ring slot will take care of it, and the other stats on it, other than the damage return, kind of helps out any class. Not the best ring ever, but the Gurak Stone's the cheapest that you can get for the stones, and I decided to make it. There are going to be better rings that you can use for this build, but I really enjoy the Azazel's Despair. It just kind of goes with the entire theme of the build. Now, for stat stacking, the St. Drax's Pigstick, very powerful. Vitality and armor, but we'll go over these other weapons for the build here in just a moment, too. And that's about all the gear. The gear is kind of the most important part for this. That's why I wanted to kind of explain each piece and why they're so important, and also take each piece off so you can see how detriment it is to your damage return. As for your charms over here, you don't really need a soul collector in these things. These are just what I had left over. What I would recommend, though, is trying to find a Chaos Stone with armor on it, since nobody really cares about those. And then after that, you can just go for like any kind of charm that's going to give you attributes, all resistance and whatnot. Most of them are going to be the same you use in any build. I threw a Traveler's Map in here because I'm just kind of running around the maps for a bit. You could throw like an Anubis Ink Charm, Sheep King's Wool for the all attributes and stuff. There's all sorts of things you can do. Hard to Still Defender. This is one of our best in slot. A lot of people like to use this. It's pretty common in a lot of builds because of the increased life. But that armor that you get on it, along with the life increase and the damage return back, that's crazy. Also, a 40 armor over 25 would be a lot stronger than having a maxed damage return one, just because we're at attribute stacking. Voodoo Doll, not required for the build, but it is nice. It's pretty nice to be able to attack pretty quickly. St. Drax's Pigstick's a 3.1, Storm Fury's a 3.4, and Fenrir's Bloodflame is the only one that's not really required in the build at all. That I would switch out a different weapon, but if you're doing the arcane damage on your build and you want a weapon, I had this, so I decided to use it. Weapons I consider for the build are going to be Storm Fury. This is perfect for the Lancer's Reflect. And St. Drax's Big Stick is pretty good too. Since this is a Lancer weapon to begin with, I just wanted to throw it into the build here. But go ahead and stat stack anything. Let's take this off here in a second. And I'll show you what the other situation is. So, the build. You are stat stacking. We are at 2811 armor and 1044 vitality, and the rest of our stats are almost at like 600 plus. Now, this is going to be when your build is fully done. You will not have these stats when you're first starting out. Even getting to this was pretty crazy, I thought. This is having like Annihilator in your build and all those things for increasing the armor percentages. So stat stack as heavy as you can. This is going to show you kind of like where I'm at. Other people are probably going to be maybe a bit further, but I think this is about as max as we're going to be getting, other than getting more off of the Incarnation tree. So expect to get stats like this, and that armor conversion right here is insane. I mean, that's just so much armor conversion that over here in the tree, you become an attack damage character, you become a magic skill damage character just from that amount of stat stacking. So pretty cool stuff. All right, let's go over how it works and why maybe your damage return is not working very well. So right now we're at 308,000 damage return. That's really not enough to consider the aura on the shield to hit hard. It's just not going to be enough. So how do we get around that? I tried a few different things. First, you would think, and this is going to be where a lot of people are going to have a problem with their damage return, I think, is that you'd think that you'd want to spec into Unstoppable Goliath. So let's spec out of this and go into Unstoppable Goliath. Unstoppable Goliath says that home defenses no longer causes your ground slam at maximum stacks to happen. Instead, it increases your maximum life, your damage return, and your life replenish for each stack. This is massive. This gives you so much life return that you almost don't need to worry about it anymore. And then if you go with Optimized Safeguard, it gives you even more stacks. You would think this would be one of your best. So let's show you what's going on here. So for the Reflect build, I only went into the Reflect stuff. I'm trying not to use any of the other skills to do damage, other than Hone Defenses, of course. So Counter, it's very good, but we're just trying to use the Versus the World version of it, where the damage return proc happens. If you decide you want to go into you having the Arcane or just have it on all the time, it's pretty powerful, especially since we're getting hit all the time. But this is just for the testing of full damage Reflect, because I'm sure that's what you're interested in. Not what the Lancer's arcane stuff can do. Over here, Shield Wall starts to do tremendous amounts of damage because of the amount of armor stacking we're doing and converting. But we're mainly using this just to get a little bit of arcane breakdown on the target. And then to stack our Hone Defenses. And that's the reason why we're using the Gravitational Aegis. You don't have to use this. You can decide to use the Bleed, especially if you have a mechanic you're trying to do with that. And then Shield Slam. I use Thorn to Aegis a lot. This will make shields just fly out of you while you're getting attacked. Right now I'm using Knights Templar just to get a lot of procs off. I wanted a bunch of procs to happen with the build, and then you also get damage return for a short duration. This damage return actually does help, and it does increase your damage return. And then here's where we come into the issues with what you might be doing. So if you see here, my damage return is not moving. It's not changing. Nothing's happening. I'm not really getting hit, but it should be changing, and it should be fluctuating massively while you're in combat. And if it's not, that means that you've put some points into your tree that are making it so that your build's actually being interfered with, and it's not going to work correctly. One of the ones is Unstoppable Goliath. I do not know why, but this makes it so that your stacks no longer do what they're supposed to, and they now give you some weird arbitrary damage return and life replenish and life. The damage return, for some reason, does not increase your base damage return. It's its own thing. I don't know why. That's not good. And how you test that is just really simple. Go to a dummy, test out, or just out in combat, and I switched out every single skill to see what was strong. And yeah, this was great, but it doesn't increase your damage return. And I'll show you right here. See how it didn't move a minute ago? Now, you're going to see my damage return boosting up into the millions. We're going to the millions of damage, up to 2 million right here without even being into combat. This makes the aura from the shield hit so astronomically harder that you actually become a build and you start to feel how powerful it is to actually be into combat. So like, let me go to the Glacial Trail real quick. and like being spec'd the correct way, where we're actually getting the stacks, you start to stack your aura, and look how hard that aura hits targets. So I just walk by, like we can do a charge here, and my other moves are like level 1. They're not doing anything for us right now. They're doing a little bit of damage, but they're just clearing up pretty much. Right now, this is all the aura from the shield, and this is all because of realizing how to armor stack, and then also how to get that damage return to go up. So if you're having a hard time, and you just like, man, I'm just not getting the damage return that this guy's talking about, well, it's probably because you're trying to spec a lot of those damage return nodes in your tree, and when you go into Inferno here, you're not able to kill anything because you're just not spec correctly. But as you see here, you can just walk. You don't even really have to be a build. If you to do the most damage, yeah, you taunt, they run in, and then you're going to do this charge back and forth. This is going to one-shot everything. But you definitely want to make sure that you have that damage return working correctly, or when you go in here, you're just going to have that 300,000, and you're never going to be popping into the 800 to 1.7 million that you've seen me doing there. And that's just a problem with what can happen. Like, let's go in here. If I was to spec into no damage return, or if I was spec into the other trees where you think you'd be getting damage return, it wouldn't do anything. So like on a boss like this, we just jump on Grim Reaper first. Go ahead and hit counter to get that extra damage return in here. And as soon as he does his moves here, he's going to instant kill himself. There we go. There's Reaper. This is about the worst fight to do for us, by the way. Like, for damage return. And it still goes well. So there's him. And all we're doing is just using the charge. I'm just using charge. And then proccing my damage return abilities, such as counter. That's going to be about the longest fight you have. The other bosses, as you've seen, when I first showed the video here, you're gonna one-shot the Uber bosses. And when you go into the wormhole, they're going to hit themselves even harder. And the Chaos Tower will hit themselves even harder on you. So the Reflect build really well. Things that you need to do, though, just to explain what happened there, is things like Unstoppable Goliath that say you're getting more damage return. Once again, now that you've seen what I'm talking about, this is proccing up to 1.7 million easily in town without even going into combat. If you spec into home defenses, this is what should work. So if a dev can kind of take a look at that, if this damage return increase actually worked correctly with these stacks, our build would be so much stronger. It would be astronomical. It would be astronomically stronger. Because this is just sticking at 318k right now. Whereas when I spec out of that, I mean, it should be going huge. It should be going higher than 1.7 million like we were. It should be getting to like 3.4 million, 5 million almost if it was doing what it's supposed to. But we have to deal with this, and it still is clearing all the content, so that's fine. Damage Reflect right here. It's okay. I haven't noticed it to be the biggest node as much as you'd think it would be for it being named Damage Reflect, but it is okay. You almost get more out of Knight's Vigor because of the amount of vitality you're getting out of here. Parry. Not sure if parry is interfering with us too much. Our aura and the way the build works, we don't need people to hit us to do damage. But parry is going to stop you from getting those hits from a certain boss, so might want to not have a point in parry. I'm going to have to check that out. This is the one thing before I even made the video I didn't really think about speccing out of parry to see how that, if we get hit more. But it would just kind of be, I'd be thinking I got hit more. It'd be hard to kind of gauge, even though it's a 50%. We might try that. That might be the next thing that we do have to try out here. Other than that, I went into all the points here. You can just kind of go into the Reflect stuff if you want. And as you've seen, it clears all the content. We're not even using any of the Lancer's abilities, really. We're just using the Reflect. All right, so that's it for your abilities. That's it for the gear and everything. Let's go over the Incarnation tree. What makes this work. For your abilities, just in case I didn't go over them very well for you there. Your charge, you're mainly just getting the elemental break. You can either group them up, or you can slam down over and over again. I didn't really like the Fallen Heroes one. It's okay. And then just make sure you get 1 point at least into the taunt at the end. It helps a lot with what we're doing. This is mainly to get around, but since you're armor converting so much, this hits like a truck. And it also has the ability to knock things up, do elemental break, do armor break. It's great. Battle charge is really powerful for Lancer. Over here, Once again, hone defenses, you're just specking to get the extra stacks for your damage return. You can even spec into the extra stacks here. I was just showing you the Unstoppable Goliath bug that I think is a bug that's going on right now. I forgot to actually go into this, but this is the best way. You're going to put all of your points into these two nodes, and this is going to make your damage return go the highest. You're also going to attack as fast as you can with Shield Slam. That's going to give you more stacks of damage return. And that's why we use a fast weapon. So let's go into the Incarnation tree. And now that I've showed you the stats, there's a few different ways to make this build and to make it work pretty well. So I usually run around with Fenrir's Bloodfang. I like the 105% attack speed. I like the proc of getting the extra arcane skill damage and the faster cast rate for when I do have to cast. And I like the arcane resist down. And it was in my inventory, so that's why we're using it. Any weapon that does arcane resist down is going to be fine. Why we do this is because if you're having a hard time at the beginning with your reflect killing everything, you are going to rely on your shield wall and your hone defenses and whatnot to do a little bit of damage for you. And this will actually help you out a lot. Once you're ready to go full into the damage return, you are going to be, and this is over here is just for the summoner version of the build. So you're going to be getting something like a Storm and a Vial. You don't have to use Event Horizon for what we're going to do here. You can switch over to Celestial's Authority and stuff if you want to, which I have tried. It's going to make your lightning damage do a little bit more, but the reflect's going to go down a lot. It's going to be, and you're not going to have that aura. But why we use Storm Fury? So Storm Fury is a fast attacking weapon that has all attributes, which is what we're trying to stack, and has enemy lightning resist down. It also has an ability that increases your lightning damage and your attack speed for a short amount of time, and it also gives you a lightning shield barrier that decreases the damage you take by 26% and puts a barrier up that hits pretty hefty. So you're getting everything that you could kind of need for a reflect build that's using lightning, and the reason why I'm showing you this is because the Incarnation tree has a few different builds. So the first build I like to use is this one. This is all physical reflect. I'll go into it. So the first 100 hero levels is all I'm going to pretty much show up for builds right now. Unless there's a build that's really high end that I need to have a lot of hero levels for. But anything over level 100 is a lot. That's a lot to tell someone to get into before they can start doing their build. So let's just go over this. What we got here is your armor stacking. You have so many stats that any stat you can start to stack, you're going to go into. So any stat near you that you could stack, go into. Anything that can convert, go into. It works very well. So first things first, when you first start off, come over here. I just like to drop over and grab hold of that damage return node into the defense convert. That defense convert, if you see here, let's back out of it real quick. Gives us almost 3,000 hit points just from the defense that we have alone. So pretty good for just 3 points. Then you're going to drop down here and you're going to grab Divine Essence right at the beginning. This is going to increase the damaging aura radius and the effect of your shield. So Shroud Vector is affected by this. I have tested it. These damage return nodes are going to be a lot later. They're not that important. They do not increase your damage return by that much, even though it says they do. And the bad gas is just because I wanted to have the extra effect. I think this looks cool. I stream it a bit, so I just like to have some cool effects flying on the screen. You don't have to do the bad gas right off the bat. The extra damage return converted into burning, it's okay. I like to have the burning effect on the creatures when I go running by just to see if it'll kill them. In the harder content, I wasn't seeing a massive return on it. But once we have a little bit more points, I start going into that and having the bodies explode. I've tested it where I just was spec'd into this. It wasn't as impressive as like going down over here. So once again, big things that you're going to be going for is the armor nodes at the beginning, getting your Divine Essence in. When you're first starting out, you're probably going to have to go over here and grab a hold of Immortal Goliath and Divine Bulwark and whatnot. But as you get stronger, you're not going to need them. And then drop on over here. The chance for return damage to crit, I have heard from everybody that it is not working. I'm going to stay spec'ing to it anyway for now because I wanted to get into the chance for return damage to do damage in area effect. Now, because it's return damage, it's hard to tell when any of this stuff is going on. So if you spec into this, you don't think it's working, save yourself the points and just go spec into maybe something with something different. Like, I mean, almost anything would work if it's not working. But I just wanted to give you that heads up before telling you to go into these. I can't tell if they're even working or not, because when a creature damage returns themselves, who knows if they're critting themselves? I don't see the crit number go up, so I can't really tell. But we're going to spec into it anyway, because if these were working, I would want them. So I want the build to be filled out the way it's supposed to be to show you guys. Now down here, Citadel, extremely powerful for when you get Colossus stacks and you're getting hit, so you're going to have full Colossus stacks all the time. You're going to have so much life return, you won't even need life return on the tree pretty much. I spec'd out of it for now because we just aren't taking enough damage in any of the content anymore that I even need life return. Maybe when I start pushing the wormhole a little bit further, we will, but so far I don't need it. If you're dying, go ahead and get that damage mitigation here. But we don't need it right now. If you're starting out and you're not really high level yet, you don't have the gear, I would definitely recommend Citadel. I'd also recommend jumping over here and grabbing that damage mitigation when using a shield. If you're at the point where I'm at, where you have all the damage mitigation without it, just go ahead and skip out of that. Next nodes you go into, really important, I think, is from defense to wizard and from defense to offense. So defense to wizard is going to increase all of the damage of all your skills and has a 10% increase to your armor. That is massive. This gives you another 10% increased armor. That is massive. So you're going to spec into both of these. After that, it's kind of what you want to go into. If you feel like your shield wall and your hone defenses and everything you like a little bit more, start speccing into the summoner stuff and start going over here into the orbital things and then into the shield stuff over here, because you're probably just going to become a lancer that likes to do that. And if it's your main class, it might be better to kind of stay arcane. If it's a second class, or you're really just obsessed with going all the way into the reflect, drop down here and immediately pick yourself up the echo and the echo on the boss. I don't know if someone tells me these aren't working, but when I didn't have these, sometimes the bosses would take forever to kill. As soon as I pick these up, I've noticed sometimes they just immediately rip themselves. So there's definitely an interaction with the echoing that seems good. All right. This is going to be your main build setup for Incarnation. I know this is the hardest thing to kind of come up with when you're figuring things out, but this is the biggest damage return I could come up with so far. There's going to be more if I had more points, but this is what we came up with. Now, for other kind of builds and some stuff to teach you guys so that you don't ruin your build. First off, base stats. A stat that needs to be fixed is this one here, your armor conversion node for damage reflect. Let's spec out of this real quick just so I can show you how detriment this is to our build. This would be massive. For the amount of damage you're getting for going into defense to wizard and the amount of attack damage I've seen from defense to offense, having this for damage return work would be huge. This would be one of the biggest nodes on the tree. You would definitely need it, and there'd be no reason not to have it. Here's the reason why we don't get it currently. So 2,370 armor. Once again, Eternal Death has given us a 40% conversion. It's kind of a big deal. 261,000 damage return with the build with this Incarnation tree, and the armor's 2370. I just want to show you how bad this is. So we go from 261,000 and 2,400. Was that 24? Yeah, 2370 armor. So if you spec into the Incarnation tree here, it does exactly what it says, which is not what you want it to do. It converts 10% of your armor into damage return. Now, this would be good if armor wasn't used for so many other things in the build, or if we weren't stacking armor, or if the rest of the tree worked that way, I wouldn't question it. But this says armor converted to damage return. This says intelligence converted to magic skill damage. There's a few other nodes over here, such as strength converted to magic skill damage. These do not remove your stats when you spec into them, but they do when you spec into the one for the armor conversion. This is the only one on the tree that does that. If you look over here, we've now lost over 400 almost armor, and our damage return has dropped significantly because of it. But it is the part of the tree that should work. So this is a big problem. They need to fix this. If the devs think they don't need to fix it, well, go ahead and fix the rest of these then to work the way that you have them worded, and then I'll be happy with it. So 796 intelligence. Boom. Spec out of that. 768 intelligence. What is going on here? So why is the conversion of the 25 intelligence. It's giving us a 25 intelligence, and it's not losing any intelligence whatsoever. We're actually gaining the max benefit you could possibly get from that node, which is the way the rest of the nodes work in the tree. The armor node loses it. It is worded exactly the same. I'm going over this because I went to the Discord. They told me it was intended. I do not think so. I think that maybe the people I was talking to do not know how things work, or they just haven't really spec'd into this. But this is not intended. 10% of armor converted to damage return, 5% of intelligence converted to magic skill damage. This is the way that it should work, the way Magister's Intellect does. If this is what you want, devs, then just don't expect us to spec into it. Or, if you're going to do this final node needs to have something like this node, this node, this node, the bone orbiting, and the boss all in one. If you want it to even come close to being useful whatsoever. And it's out of the way to get over here. These damage return nodes are out of the way. This is a damage return node. It's not. It's an armor convert node with the same visuals as a damage return. And so is this. This is a melee damage with the same visuals as a damage return. So this part of the tree, someone, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to figure this out. Or just keep it the way it is. We won't spec into it, and then come up with some item to make it so that we want to do this. But it doesn't work. So don't spec into that, guys. This isn't good. Last build. I decided to try out the bone orbiting. It's a 5% chance. It's good, the damage, but it's a 5% chance. This never happens. This bone never orbits you, and I can't justify specking into it. So save your points. Don't go into this. Save your points. This does not increase your vector aura either, just to help you guys out. If you decide you want to go over here and you don't care anyway, you're like, I want that bone flying around, go ahead and get it. Just go ahead and come over here and turn your attack damage into life too while you're at it. And then grab a hold of that extra light radius converted into all attributes, since it helps us, since we're like triple stacking different stats. But if you don't care about this, I didn't find it to be very good. I hope they update this to where it's like a 10-15% chance for that bone fragment to happen. Then you can get like maybe 2 or 3 flying around you. I've only ever got 1. Maybe it's intended to only have 1, but they don't say anything. There's no way for us to know what's going on here. So not very good. Over here though, the damage converted, all of your damage return converted to lightning zaps. Pretty cool. I didn't mind it. I'm not really sure what these little plus 50 nodes, these plus 8 damage return nodes are doing here. I don't know if I find them very useful. I spec'd into them and out of them. It's okay. I can't tell, the dummy doesn't really like help you with these kind of things. So it's just like, if you think it's increasing, maybe. I went into it because it seemed like it might be important for this. But anyway, lightning zaps. It works. It works pretty well, actually. If you're going into the lightning zaps, go ahead and scale your magic damage over here and start working towards the stuff on the lightning tree over here. Seems to actually help out. And then you're gonna try to strip lightning resist on the targets. So if you're gonna go ahead and get that Storm Fury, throw in Storm in a Vial. You're gonna get about 20. You're gonna get 45% enemy lightning resist down, and then from there you can just grab a few other pieces of gear, even maybe a pair of gloves, switch those out. And then now you have the lightning strip, and then you're doing lightning damage all over the place. Your damage return is lightning damage is really good. Vector Shroud stays the just normal damage return aura. You're not really getting lightning out of that, but everything else is going to be kind of shooting lightning out of you. And this is kind of the best setup I've come up with for it. So if you want to do the lightning build, go ahead and do that. There you go. Not too much more to go over on here. Like I've showed you, I tried a few different things on the Incarnation tree. Tried going into a Lucifer's Crown build here, where we're just getting increased max resistances and throwing Lucifer's Crown on to do more damage. It increases the damage of your Lancer, but I wasn't sure if it was increasing the damage of my Reflect. So, if you want to stay this full Reflect build, I'd recommend kind of moving into something like Storm Fury. Really cool for it. And then switching all your damage over to the Lightning. I thought it was pretty cool. I think that might be the way in the end, just because of how much You can strip their lightning resist where you're not really stripping their damage return resist. I'm not sure if the physical damage from damage return is affected by armor ignore. These are things that we'll never really know unless someone has some kind of better way to test. The dummies are not a good way to test damage return. So if someone has a better way to test and see that, go ahead and let me know. But in the meantime, if you just want to kill everything, make sure that it works, and you want to make sure that you're not going to have a bad character, this works really good. This is the setup I like for the character when we're running around. And this is the gear that you're gonna pop on. With this, you can't fail. I can kill everything in the game. Luna, all things. If someone invites me to a Chaos Tower, no problem whatsoever. If someone invites me to do anything, I don't really have a problem. Relics. We are using Twin Blade because I wasn't sure if the crit and the crit damage was going to work with that crit damage node. I'm going to stick with it because if they do fix it, I'm pretty sure we're going to need it. Went with the Mario's Pipe because teleporting around and having a character that can't sucks. Magic Mushroom. Your stat stacking, why not? Rock Belt, your stat stacking, why not? And then the Shiv is just because I wanted something to proc so that I could attack faster, to proc more things, and so that I could run faster. That's the only reason I'm using the Shiv. Go ahead and throw whatever you want into that final slot. I have tried out using the armor. The Damned Buckler only gives you 30 armor in the end. Pretty disappointing. I have tried out the damage return relic. It gives you like 100% damage return in the end. There's no weird interaction with it. It wasn't really worth it. I tried putting on the cursed artifact here and using a bunch of proc relics. Damage return just kills everything anyway, so I didn't really need it. But if you have some proc relics, like you want to use the Ogre Mallet for the stun damage increase, maybe have the on-struck effects that do the damage, that like poison everything for you and whatnot. That's what I was doing. It was fun. It looks cool. But I decided to kind of go more for just all stat attribute stacking in the end. All right. Kind of a lot to go over, but I wanted to go over it. I wanted to show it off. I wanted people to understand that this does work. It's really powerful, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So hopefully that'll help some people out. I don't think there was more notes I need to go over, really. I gave you guys the items that are best in slot, the Incarnation tree, the stuff that doesn't work on it. Some of the combos I thought worked with it pretty well. And how to do the lightning convert. So other than that, that's kind of the big stuff. So I'll just give you guys a few clips of me just running around killing stuff. And hopefully you have fun making this build.